Hello, welcome to another episode of Rewilding Voices podcast. Now, have you ever had a message from plants to guide you on your journey? Well, it's an intriguing subject even, and I'm really excited to welcome my guest here today, Emily Doe. Emily, please tell us, what is it you do?
Thank you, Jane. Oh, well, I am now an author and an artist, and I've been very strongly called to becoming a bard. And that's all happened within the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And it happened after the dandelions spoke to me one morning, and I just sometimes find it difficult to explain that, but I've tried my very best in the book that I wrote all about it, which is being published at the moment. And I've just actually completed and released an album of songs to accompany the book as well. So, yeah, the message came through and it was loud and clear, and it has certainly sent me on a new journey, a new path, a new life adventure, shall we say?
Yeah, awesome. So, I mean, I'm sure that there are people listening to this thinking, what the hell? The dandelions told you what? So, can you explain? Can you
Yeah.
describe what happened on that day?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll go back a little bit before that, before
Sure.
before I get to that day. Um, I suppose I had welcomed the dandelions into my life, shall we say. I was going through a divorce. I was going through a divorce which it actually started during COVID,
Mm,
and it was a long process. It took almost 4 years for my divorce to go through. And when my husband, ex-husband now, when he left the rented accommodation that we live in Bristol, that we lived in Bristol, I still live here. Um, he took the lawnmower, and so I just stopped mowing my lawn. And as I stopped mowing my lawn, I noticed that the dandelions were taking over my garden. They were literally everywhere. They were poking up through the cracks in the pavement. They were in every flower bed. They were completely consumed the lawn. And I started to get
mm,
curious. I was like, what are they doing here? Like, this is mad because I'd not really seen them in the garden before that. And so at the time, I was working as a content creator and a researcher for a company who were eco-friendly procurement company. And so
yeah,
I was being asked to do all of this research into the environment. And so I was discovering about our ecosystems and how important it is to almost rewild as much of our green spaces as we possibly can, including our own gardens. And
yeah,
so I recognized that the dandelions were really good for my garden, and they were really good for the pollinators and really good for the ecosystem out there. And so I was like, right, I'm not going to get a lawnmower. I'm just going to let them be. I'm just going to let them do their thing. And
love
so
that.
so that was about probably 2 years or so ahead of me getting this message directly from
Mm,
them. And then about a year after that, a few months after that, when my ex-husband did leave and move into his own place, I I was reading a book called Peace in Every Step, because I was really actively inviting in as much peacefulness and mindfulness into my life as I could at that point. Because it was, if anybody's been through a divorce, it can be extremely stressful. And I opened up the first page of this book, and there was a picture of a dandelion. And it was talking about letting go and really exhaling and calming your nervous system. And I, at the time, was a movement therapist and I worked a lot with children and creating movement programs and movement education for schools. And so I started to bring dandelions in as a symbol for setting intentions and for
Mm.
breathing out anything that you wanted to let go of, any tensions you wanted to let go of. Start playing around with that concept. But that was really it. I was just scratching the surface at that point in terms of the wisdom that the dandelions had for me. And what also happened was I decided to get a tattoo. So that week I found a tattoo artist, and I went and I had a dandelion tattooed on my belly. And so I suppose that was
Wow.
the kind of sealing of the deal of our relationship, our entanglement, mine and the dandelions relationship. And so what, fast forward probably another year or so on, and it's the 2023 by this point, and I asked sat out in the garden. Things were really quite tough at that point, and I was really unsure of what I was doing. I realized I was 43 at the time, and I'm like, I'm really not where I thought I was going to be, age 43. I'm living in my rented house. I don't have a pension. I don't have savings. It's a struggle financially. I'm not really that satisfied with where I am in my work. And I was really shaming myself, really, really
Mm.
shaming myself for a lot of things. Like, when you think about comparing yourself to the outside world, I was doing a lot of that. And so I sat in my garden with the dandelions. It was summer's day, and I had a little conversation with my heart. And I didn't realize at the time that I was really communicating with my heart, but it was my heart that was talking to me. And I just said, how can I bring back my joy? How can I bring back some joy in my life? And the message that came through in that moment was, you need to sing again. And so I was like, okay, I need to do something to invite back singing into my life. And so I became a singing leader with the singing mamas. I went and I trained, and at the time it was a big deal. I think it was, it was quite a few £100s to do the training. And I was like, can I really do this for myself? Can I really invest in myself in this way? Um,
So,
is
Emily,
it re
was singing something that you'd done previously in your life that you wanted to get back to, or was it just
Yeah,
you woke up
since
and
I was a
thought, I
child.
need to sing?
When I was a child, I would be singing all of the time. I flirted a little bit with writing songs when I was a teenager, and I would share them with a few of my closest friends. I was always in all of the musical productions at school. I was, yeah, really, really into music, drama, English in general, like anything creative in that sense. But I was bullied for it a little bit at school. I was quite confident and I would just be the first to get up on stage. And yeah, I was shamed for it, and so I suppose in some senses, I lost my confidence through that
Mm. Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Um, and I stopped singing. As soon as I went to university, I was out of that and I wasn't really sharing in that way anymore.
Mm.
And so when I got this message, I kind of knew because it was my inner child, my inner child was going like, you were here, you were put on this earth to do this. You need to get back to this. And
Yeah.
so I did. I went and I trained with the singing mamas. And at the time I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I really don't know if I want to start a singing group. At that point, I didn't realize I was going to stop doing my movement business. I just thought I need this for myself. And I found myself sitting in circle for the first time with other women, all very heart-led, supportive women who were there all to train to lead circle singing, for health and well-being of women in our community. And I I said at the time it was like an unraveling because for the first time in my life, all of the masks just slipped, and I felt safe enough to be vulnerable and be honest with myself and with everybody in that circle that I was actually really, really unhappy and I just lost my way and I didn't really know what I was doing. Um, up until that point, I was very much like, I'm keeping it all together, bubbly. From the outside, it looked like was holding it all together, but really I wasn't. There was a lot of
Yeah,
cracks.
I think that our society encourages us to do that, doesn't it? And actually, I believe, and from my own experience as well, something magic happens when women sit in circle and allow themselves to be their authentic being. So
Well,
without
yeah,
the need to compare, without the need to try and you know, show off in a way like, oh, I've done
compare,
this and I've achieved
compete,
that.
all of it.
It's just about being and being content to be you and loving the people around you for being them. It's like
Also, our
really,
society, for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, we've been encouraged by a patriarchal system not to gather and not to sit together. And we've been
yes,
pitched
exactly.
against each other. And
Yeah.
that's what our society does. It rears us being in
Mm,
competition with each other,
yes.
so that we don't come together and we don't share our magic and we don't reflect our magic back to each other, right?
Yeah. It's very
And
divisive like that, isn't it?
yeah. And so I had lots of reservations going into that room because I didn't know I was going to be safe. I didn't know I was going to feel safe. I'd
Mm,
experienced a lot of, like I said, I'd experienced being bullied for being my true self.
mm.
And so I didn't know if I could do that. And what I discovered was that I could. I was still very kind of in myself at that point. I could feel like I used to say like I'd walk into a room and I'd feel like I was in an outer body experience. I'd feel like I was watching myself in that situation, like guarding, like how are you coming across in each and every moment? And I felt like I was an avatar of myself. I was separate, you know?
Mm,
And
mm.
now I don't. I feel complete and whole, and I can walk into any room now and just feel like I'm in my body, I'm in my skin. It's difficult to explain it, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's all a journey, isn't it? I'm not saying that, you go and sit in circle and suddenly you're able to just be you without any qualms, without any, ooh,
It was the start.
it
It
is
was the
a
start of a
journey. Yeah,
journey,
yeah.
and I'm still on that journey, but I'm feeling like sitting in circle now is the thing that I look forward to the most,
Mm,
because it is just that chance to be me.
yeah, yeah. And do you find that, I think you've already touched on this, that when you're outside of that kind of community, that you're more comfortable to be you in any situation?
Absolutely 100%. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've really kind of stepped out this year. It's like last year. So on the 22nd of April last year, I had, after following the training, which was the previous November. So coming a few months after the training. And I've realized that I've got to stop doing a lot of the things I was doing. I was doing a lot of people pleasing. I'd say yes to things out of fear of not being picked again, out of fear of not having enough money. And I was just working and working and working, trying to survive in a life that I wasn't really satisfied in. And
Yeah.
so I recognized that through being in circle and I
Mm,
stopped. And I had
yeah.
to get quiet and I had to trust in the universe that I was going to be supported to stop and rest a while, and that I was going to have some kind of awakening of my creativity. I was going to be inspired by something that was going to take me on a new journey. And what happened on the 22nd of April, and I remember the date so clearly, was I woke really early in the morning, about 4 a.m. And then the first thing I heard from a voice from within me say, "We've got something that we need you to know." And I sat bolt upright in bed and I just knew that it was the dandelions in my garden talking to me. I don't know how I knew that. I just knew.
Mm.
And so I put on the light, I picked up my journal, I started writing, what do the dandelions need me to know? What's the dandelions message? And I was just like there, just like ready for like inspiration to strike. And so I did what I do with everything. And I think a lot of us do this these days. I picked up my phone and I Googled it. What is the dandelions message? And this amazing, you get the AI. The first thing
Yeah.
that comes up is the AI response. And it was a spiritual message from the dandelions. And it was so deep and rich and layered compared to breathe out, let go, set intentions, make a wish. Like it was so much deeper than that. And I was going, oh my goodness, this relates to me in so many ways. I just felt so resonant with the message. I could see myself and where I was in my life right now in this message that was coming to me through the AI, through the phone
Yeah.
from the dandelions. And I started writing, and I was writing pages and pages about how it was relevant to me right now and how it could help me in the future. And then I got a second voice, and the voice said, you need to write a book about this and you need to share it with the world,
Mm. Which is what you've done, right?
which is what I've done. Yeah, which is what I've done. And I just started writing. That day, I started writing. And within about a month, I'd written about 40,000 words. And I would say that hardly any of those words have made it into my final book, but I had to go through that process of writing out all of the stories that were like locked inside me, like shame stories, really,
Mm.
which I hadn't really told anyone, like how I
Yeah.
really felt about that. And there was a lot of beliefs that I'd been holding on to that were formed in my childhood that just simply were not true
Yeah.
anymore as an adult. But I recognized that these beliefs had been forming my reality now.
Absolutely. Yeah. We all create our own reality from the
Mm,
stories that we create in our own minds about the world, about ourselves, about life, about other people. Yeah. It's amazing how our entire existence can change when we learn how to recognize that they're stories, question whether they're true, and see things from a different perspective.
absolutely. And that's exactly what happened. And I do realize that I was living in, I mean, it sounds cliche, but I was living in a victimhood. I was living in victim mentality and not in creator mentality. And so, as I was like unearthing all of these mistruths about myself, I was able to form a new perception and a new story around them. And that's one of the things that, the dandelions do. They dig down deep with their deep tap roots and they
Yeah,
bring up the nutrients to the surface and they distribute it to the environment around them, to the other plants, to the bees, and the butterflies, and so I was just like really like I need to do this. I need to go deep. I need to do the work. I need to bring it up. I need to share it. I need to shine my light because dandelions don't ask for permission to do that. They grow in the harshest of conditions and they crack through the pavements and they shine. And I
yeah,
was like, I realized I'd been waiting for someone to like pick me, for someone to give me permission to do the things that I want to do in life.
yeah,
So I hadn't done them. I hadn't done the things that I knew were going to bring me the most joy. And that's what the dandelions have taught me through this process, like it's been a process.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
I love
so
that.
yeah, and yeah. So there we go.
I was just going to say, I love that concept of once you left the garden to do what it wanted to do, that these plants and dandelions started popping up and nourishing you in a way. And that's why I'm really passionate about people leaving the earth to do what it wants to do, because the earth knows best and it knows what we need. So even in my own garden, where I've kind of changed it over the last few years, so it's kind of allowed to do what it wants to do. And the amount of plants that have just appeared, some people might call some of them weeds, but hey, it's just a name, like because they all have a function and they all heal us in different ways. And it's kind of tapping into that ancient knowledge that our ancestors had about working with the land, being part of it, and that synergy between us and our environment, and how we can support it, and how it supports lots of other life forms as well. So I just love that from having gone through that quite emotionally draining time of your divorce and your relationship, that letting your garden grow and allowing the plants to come in allowed you to bring in what you needed in your life. I just love that.
Yeah, and I've said that, like I've said that before about how, I think it's more commonly known now that dandelions, they come in when there's a problem with the soil. They come
Mm.
in to kind of restructure the soil and to help to heal the land. And there was like they were coming in to like heal me, to heal the bedrock of my being,
Yeah,
to kind of really get in deep and go like, there's so much here and you got to just let it out. And they're so abundant. They live in almost every, I think they live in every country around the world. They're one of the most abundant species on the planet. They are so resilient. They're so resilient. People do call them weeds and people do try to kill them, but they ain't going nowhere. They ain't going nowhere. And I
yeah,
think it's another beautiful metaphor for us as women coming back together and joining in circle and supporting each other and building each other up. It's like we're like those dandelions now, we're rediscovering our power.
yeah, absolutely. So tell me, Emily, how are you? I mean, obviously you've written a book, which will be published very shortly, I believe.
Yeah, it's being published at the moment, and there was at one point there was a chance that I might push to get it out before Christmas, but I've decided to have a rest, to go and have a period of wintering, which I would
Yeah,
absolutely strongly suggest everybody do if they get a chance to do that. And so when the dandelions start to come out in full bloom in March time, I'm going to release the book and launch it
excellent.
officially. So I'm going to take my time with the book now. But yeah, it's ready, it's finished. It's going through the final publishing stages right now. The album is out on Spotify and all other platforms that you might go and listen to your music on. And it's also on Bandcamp. People can buy it if they want to support me in that way. But you can stream it wherever you would normally do that. And the songs are part of the story. So the songs are actually weaved through the book. When I first started writing the book back in 2024, I knew I wanted to share songs because songs had provided so much medicine for me. And I was thinking about whose songs I might want to share and asking for permission and all of that kind of thing. And by the time I finished writing the book this year, I'd written a whole album of my own songs. So my own songs feature in the book. And I'm also writing another album at the moment, um, as I as I'm inspired by the turning of the wheel of the year. So I'm writing another book as well, which is a fantasy fiction. Um, and yeah, and I just feel like all of this creativity has been awoken in me and I'm just giving myself the permission to follow my heart, to breathe
Yeah,
life into all of that and to go on this magical adventure. And I'm meeting such magical people along the way. And yeah, I'm living. I'm really living. I feel like I'm living for the first time. I don't feel like I'm an outsider looking in, going, "Oh, what are you doing, love?" I'm actually in it, and I'm having the experiences that I really, really crave in life. So yeah, it's wonderful. And I'm being truly honest. Like it's not easy following this path. It never is. Like I've spent every single penny of my savings to be able to go and do this because I'm self-publishing this first book.
yeah,
And I've done my album. I've had to pay for all of that, and I've just allowed myself to really live, and I've invested in myself. But it does
yeah,
mean now that I've spent out, and it's like, okay, what's next? And I'm just trusting again,
Yeah,
trusting that,
yeah,
it's okay, it's safe for me to do this.
yeah. I very much believe that we can sit in trust that we will always have what we need at the very
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
And I know some people might struggle with that concept and think, well, I don't have what I need. But I think actually, if you really reflect, then we all do have what we need. Sometimes we make choices that don't reflect what we need. But
Yeah.
yeah, oh,
If there's one thing that I would love to share and for anybody listening to take away with them, I've just come off the back of a really big event that I co-created with another author that I met through the Unbound Press, and it was called The Power of Us, and it was a stage for new artists and people who want to share their vulnerability stories, their truth. It might be something that's going to help them heal and something that they feel is going to help other people. And one of the messages that really comes through from that event is what is in your heart, what's in your soul. There'll be a whisper of something, there'll be a suggestion, or there'll be a desire, and it's like, what are you going to say yes to? Because when it's scary to say yes to something that feels so ridiculous, so far out of your comfort zone, and all these naysayers can in your head going like, but how are you going to survive? You're going to die if you do that. You're never going to have enough money. How are you going to pay the bills? Um, but honestly, if there's a strong enough desire that's really soul led and heart led, it will keep coming up and it will keep asking you to express yourself. And I would just say, like, what is it that's being asked of you? What is it that your soul desires you to express in the world? Because I can guarantee that the world needs it, and it will be medicine for others. And it will be absolutely be medicine for yourself as well.
absolutely. Yeah. Terrific. So, what do you've already said that you've already written some more songs and you've got another book in the pipeline. What do you see for yourself going forwards?
Yeah, so I really am committed to creating gentle, encouraging spaces for other people who want to share their stories, share their voice, share their creativity. I've started a bardic sharing circle. I've become the Dandelion Bard, and I have started opening up circle space for other creatives who might not have the confidence to share their voice in public, but they have a desire to at least start on that journey. And so these circles that I'm hosting are super gentle and super friendly. And even if you just want to come along and just be in the energy of that and just receive, and build up to one day sharing. I know that it's needed. I know that people want a place where they feel that there's no performance necessarily. There's no spotlight, there's no stage. It's just we're here as equals and we are entertaining each other, and we're just sharing that love between each other, the inspiration. So that's one thing that I'm really committed to taking forwards. And I want to also, obviously share the new book when it's written, but I want to share it in a way which is uh, out on the land. And I want to take people out on the land and really get them connected to the seasons and the cycles and the nature, and kind of just do, yeah, a little bit more of a multi-sensory kind of experience
Mm,
through that book. So that's really exciting. That's a kind of like a long vision. But yeah, just sing. I also run singing circles in Bristol as well, as just started this year. And so I'm kind of learning as I go, like at the end
yeah,
of the day, I'm definitely not perfect. I'm not polished, but what I am, I hope, is a poster child for like, if there's something you want to do, let's just do it and support each other in it, and we'll make it happen, like I'm the one who messes up the words the most. So it's all about connection, not perfection. And I think we need more of that. I think we need more of coming together and just feeling connected and supported in community.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm dedicated to now, moving
yeah. And
forwards.
also that idea that you don't have to be perfect because what is perfect anyway? Your perfect is different to my perfect. Perfect doesn't really exist, you know?
No, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, I was
exactly.
working with in my own business, I was working with a singer recently who had got to a point where they were just feeling really unconfident to practice if anyone else could hear. And we had this conversation about, well, you're practicing, right? So when you're practicing, that is exactly the right time to make as many mistakes as you want, right? Because that's what practice is. And
Yeah, and
even the best
even on the
singers in the
night.
world on the night, they'll fluff up a word or they'll sing the wrong verse or something.
And it
But
gives
nobody
permission
thinks,
to others.
oh,
It
yeah,
gives permission to others if your voice is trembling or you sing out of no, like I purposely invite those moments when my voice like wobbles and goes
mm,
off key because I feel like it's real. Like it's real and it's like that's when the emotion is there in my voice and it people can feel that people can really feel that
yes,
and I've stopped worrying about that and so because I've stopped worrying about it and I actively invite it in you can bet that when I'm singing in ceremony that will happen and
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't mind anymore and it's like there's a time when there's no way I would have shared that if someone had recorded it I wouldn't share it because it's like oh no it's not perfect I can't share that but now I'm like no I'm sharing it because this is real life like it's okay to stumble on your words or to have your voice shake or whatever crack or it's absolutely fine so yeah I'm absolutely yeah I'm encouraging all of that richness and I'm in support of that and yeah I love to create ritual as well to support people to
yeah,
work with their authentic voice and to get comfortable sharing because I think the more that we can practice that especially when we do it in sacred circle and we set intentions for ourselves like that's magical and it's all in service of us refinding the power of our voice the strength in our voice um, and when we speak things out loud that's super powerful ways to manifest what you want in your life.
yeah. Well, words are spelt. So words spell things, they create spells. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
So yeah, rites of passage for helping people to kind of really practice speaking out what they want. Like we've really struggled with speaking out what we want and for asking for help. Like we've been brought
absolutely.
up to like keep it all in, and it's
Yeah,
yeah, we need to heal that part of ourselves now, I think,
yeah,
especially now.
definitely. I remember the first time that I was asked the question, "What is your dream?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" Because I hadn't ever allowed myself to have a dream of what I wanted my life to be like. I just
Yeah.
kind of had these expectations. Well, you work, you get money. If you're lucky enough, you get a mortgage, you buy a house, you carry on working, you retire. I hadn't ever thought about what I wanted any of that to look like. And I was in my 40s by this point.
Yeah.
So it was
I write
just like,
something really similar in my book,
yeah,
really
just
similar to that.
it's
It's like
but I think it's a social conditioning as well, isn't it? We kind of just we're encouraged to get on this little treadmill, hamster wheel, whatever, however you want to picture it, and that's just what we do. And then when you're confronted with other possibilities, you're like, what? Well, I don't understand. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And that's when I think it's important to be held by others who understand and have potentially walked a little bit further ahead on that path
yeah,
because that you can then see, you can look outside of yourself. And not that I'm encouraging looking outside of yourself, because it's part of that is not to look outside and compare yourself to others. But at the same time, if you look outside and you see other people doing it, and you surround yourself by people who are going to kind of build you up and really support you through transformation, because that's what we're talking about
Yeah.
essentially. We're talking about transformation, and women particularly are waking up to this right now and
Yeah.
realizing that there's so much more when we really truly allow ourselves to desire more,
Yes, absolutely.
and we've not been
Infinite
allowing ourselves
possibilities.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I always say it's like looking at the sky through the lens of light pollution at night. You can only see a few stars, but when that light pollution is taken away, wow, there's just so much.
And
Possibilities are
there's so
endless.
much magic to be found in the mundane aspects of life when we allow ourselves to connect with other people in this way. And like, we're all magical beings, and we all have our own little bit of je ne sais quoi to bring to the party. And
Absolutely.
so, like, when we start to see that in each other, and and feed off of that, like, oh, it's delicious.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. So, Emily, do you have any tips, advice, sage wisdom to
Mm.
share with anyone who might be watching or listening to this thinking, do you know what? I would like to maybe sit in circle with other like-minded women. I'd maybe want to discover what's really in my heart and what I really desire. Have you got any wisdom to
Well,
impart
I
on
would just
how they
say
go about that journey?
I'm absolutely happy for anyone to connect with me. I've got an Instagram account which I'm really, really active on, which is emilydoe.dandelion stories. My website is emilydoe.com. Come and have a chat with me if you do want me to suggest any ways that you can start to reach into your local community and find, circles or whatever it might be. And there's, the wonderful Bristol Goddess Temple that which is where we met.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say, that have if you have an inkling in you, or there's been just even a whisper of a message that you want to write a book, it is the most magical journey, and it is like writing a spell for yourself, and your life will change and it will evolve. And you don't have to just burn everything down, kind of like what I did. You don't have to do it like that. You can do it really gently in your own way. And I found through support, through the Unbound Press, that I can go on that journey, um, and do it my way.
Yeah.
Like, I certainly didn't write a book proposal. I didn't have it all figured out. I just started writing one day, and
Yeah.
now I have a book that's about to be published. It's 53,000 words long. It has 9 chapters. Like, it's a proper book, and I'm really proud of it. And I really, really hope that yeah, I inspire other women who have that dream for themselves to know that it is safe
Mm.
to dream. It's completely normal. And the reason why you're having that dream is because we need your magic. We need your medicine. So, yeah, find a way to ask for help, and then just follow the golden thread and just go on your journey.
Awesome. So if you are looking for that support, then contact Emily.
Yeah, if you
I
if
will
you want
put
to, and
all of
I'm a
your,
really good signpost.
yeah,
I'm a
I'll
really
put
good
all of your
signpost to
contact
other things.
details.
But yeah, joining in one of my bardic sharing circles, you'll be more
Yeah.
than welcome. Coming to a singing circle, just finding other like-minded people who are going to, yeah, make you feel that you're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Peer groups are so important, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just having that support and having those people who are around you who are encouraging you rather than holding you back and saying, "Oh, I don't think you should do that." Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think it's also important to honor your own individuality, your own energy. Like, I know that I love being out in the world, but I need to kind of not overtip the balance. Like, I need a lot of time at home to be in my creative space alone. in order for me to be resourced enough to then be out in the world. And I think that it's, caring for your energy is really, really important. And so I know a little bit about that as well. So if anybody, yeah, you can go and have a little look at what I do. And if you want to learn about yourself in that way, then I've got some offers there that can help.
Awesome. So I'll put all your contact details in the show notes. So if anyone wants to contact you, Emily, they can. And in the
Thank you.
meantime, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you,
on the
Jane.
show. I really loved our conversation. And yeah, I will see you soon, hopefully.
Yeah, lots of love. Thanks, Jane.
All right, take care. Lots of love. And remember, if you've been watching this, listening to this, and you've liked it, remember to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and comment as well. Love to hear your comments and feedback. So until the next episode, big love.